Hey, you all, welcome to our show called Making It with Kennan Cooley and Alvin
Chea, not Shay, not Shea, nothing fancy. Chea like the pet, but with an E. And that's Kennan.
Right.
Kennan, not Keenan, not Kanan, Kennan.
Right, we're going to get that out the way.
Out of the way. Now we can be friends.
Now we can be friends. That's right. So what we want to do is we want to share it with you guys and tell you how to make it in the industry that we are both from. We are in the entertainment industry. Alvin, of course, is the singer from Take Six, and I am a producer and a business owner in the entertainment industry for media and marketing.
We're on two different coasts, two different sides of the industry. I'm here on the West Coast, she's East Coast. And we come at the industry from two different ways, but we are talking to you about making it. So we're excited about it.
Exactly, exactly. And you know, there's so much. Alvin, you've been in like 33?
35, yeah. 35 years. Take
yeah.
Six. And, you know, and that's just part of the Hollywood shuffle. Take Six is my entry into this thing. And then when I got in the door, I had to just try to figure it out. So I've been doing it for quite a while. And how about you?
I have been in the industry for over 20 years. I've had my own company for, well, I'm sorry, over 20, but I've had my own company for 20.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
Yeah, pretty much as soon, well, the life as it has developed kind of pushed me into being a business owner because I had to eat.
Right, absolutely.
So yeah, well, the whole story is I started out as a at-home mom. Yeah, so, but then I was working, so I wasn't really working full time. And then I was divorced. And then I had to, in the meantime, I learned a lot about what I do. And then I had to figure out how I'm going to make ends meet. And it pushed me into doing my own business. And I never looked back.
I love it, you know, because that's true, honest hustle. When you don't have an option, when you got to make it, that's when the people work the hardest. I'm kind of similar to that. I have a divorce on my resume as well. But there's something about when you got to make it that is the most pure form of sweat equity that you can ever have. I was one of, you know, 6 guys, and I'm always just the base, but every pie is divided by 6 at least, and then you have managers and you have attorneys and agents and all of these things. The next thing you know, you're not eating caviar, you're eating Bama peanut butter. So you got to make it your own way. Plus, I went to school for this. So I finally am getting a chance to do it professionally, and now 35 years down the road, share what it is that helped us make it.
Right, but you started at Oakwood, right? Oakwood University.
I did. I started at Oakwood University, wanting to be the CBS anchor, ended up becoming friends with Ed Bradley and all of that. Ate dinner with Walter Cronkite.
Wow.
But I ended up being a news maker instead of a news reporter. But the skill set is still important, especially now during these stay-at-home times.
Very important. I think it's always important to know your industry because there are a lot of people I've come across in my time doing this work who don't know the industry. They don't know what they're getting. There's great singers, they're great performers, but they don't know the industry. And sadly, a lot of times they get taken advantage of, and it's too late. I mean, Red Fox died broke. There's so many people who didn't get their taxes and they didn't know their taxes would be filed properly.
Yeah, especially for people of color, it's it's almost like it's so amazing that we were able to be successful in this industry. So to tie all the loose ends up, it is rare. Bill Cosby did it successfully. Oprah Winfrey has done it successfully. But you know, and there are some athletes, Magic Johnson and the rest. But we're talking about the rank and file people who are trying to get their thing going. How can you make it? How can you take it to the next level?
Right, but I think what so many people don't understand is, just like you said, what do you call them, Bama sandwiches or something? I mean, you don't start out eating steak and caviar. Everybody thinks just because you're in the entertainment industry, you are making a lot of money or you know how to make it. I mean, there have been singers who have been on stage. I saw a video recently, Fantasia. Was, she came in from the American Idol and she was on the stage, and no, it's American Idol, I believe. And then she went on to fame, but one day she tried to order a pizza and couldn't because she didn't know she was broke. And they said, oh, don't tell her because if you tell her, she's fragile. And I'm thinking, she's not fragile. You just didn't want her to know you mismanaged her money.
Yeah.
And she said she really didn't get an understanding of it until she married her husband. Her husband.
I got one better for you. When we were in Nashville, and I think we had just released our first project, and it had gone platinum, and we were the toast of the town. And what Grammy Awards and all that kind of thing. I remember going to the bank. I was living in an apartment, but getting ready to, feeling good about myself and getting ready to go to the next level. And I was in line at the bank, and people started recognizing me in line at the bank. And literally the guy in front of me is, hey. And the guy behind me, hey. The tellers, all those people. I'm literally in bank, one step, and I'm signing autographs.
Are you serious?
I appreciate that. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Step forward. Finally, I got to the window of the bank, and they were like, well, what do you need? I just like $20 for something. I'm going to grab some lunch.
Right.
Mr. Chea, your account is... It was horrible.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And I was the classic musician type that just kind of felt like, fell in that same Fantasia thing that it was all going to take care of itself. You just work hard and the people will do what they're supposed to do. I think, it was probably, I was probably $20, $30 overdrawn, but I was still overdrawn and had no idea,
So how did you feel? I mean, you're on the road traveling, making money.
I think they let me borrow $20, but it cost me $40 in overdraft costs, something like that. But at least let me save face, so that I could try to get my $20 and go out of there. But I was like, no, never again.
Wow. So what did you learn from that lesson about, you managing money?
I'm glad you asked. I learned that fame and money rarely have anything to do with each other. Sometimes people who are famous are also financially stable. Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people who are financially stable are also famous, but generally the two have nothing to do with it, especially in the entertainment industry. Recording artists that whole industry was set up to make you famous, but them rich.
Right.
You take your image and they parlay that image into their money. Sometimes you can get some of it, sometimes you can keep some of it, but that's not the purpose of the way that the infrastructure of that thing is set up. So that's what I learned. And now I work in an industry where I'm a lot more anonymous, but thank you, Jesus. I've learned a lot of tough lessons, and we're here to share.
Right, and that's, to your point, I'm on the opposite side where I am actually the media and marketing and management side of what you do.
Right.
But I am a queen of contracts. And I'm telling you, I've learned the same way you have. I walked into Discovery and TLC and had meetings with people in my greenness and not knowing that I should have walked in with, at least one other person and had a bunch of emails going back and forth. So I'm thinking I'm excited. I'm going to get the chance to talk. This lady was writing down stuff all over the place. And then I never heard from her again.
Yeah.
But I started noticing a couple of shows. They looked they look a little bit like mine. I mean, you couldn't prove it, but I couldn't prove I was even there. Right. So I've learned I'm the queen of contracts, NDAs, and all that. Not because I don't trust you, but just in case.
But human nature.
Yeah, it's okay when there's nobody's making money, but when people start making money,
that is true.
Then they got like, you know what? Remember when we had that conversation, or we didn't have that conversation, and
It's show business, not show friends. I understand.
I like that.
Yeah, I had to learn that the hard way.
He said, show business, not show friends. That's very good. I like that. I'm going to have to use that one. But it's true. It's true. And I think that people look towards the glitz and the glamour of it and want to jump in.
Right.
And they don't really want to do, some people don't want to do the work. They just want to go sing. They just want to go perform, dance, whatever they do. And I get that. But at the end of the day, unless you're volunteering.
Some people just want to be famous. I remember I was dating this girl, and she was one of these kind of Instagram-y kind of people before Instagram. Always. Okay. And I asked her, well, what do you want to do? She said, well, I want to sing. I want to, and I was like, okay, I can help you sing. And And I set something up like lickety split, and it was like to sing the national anthem or something like that. And she completely freaked out and didn't set up. Now, she enjoyed shopping to get the look together, but actually singing and practicing and performing and producing all that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, so she likes being able to ride over in the car with me because she thinks that's all there is. But the work, while everybody else is sleeping, and you down there rehearsing and trying and going hoarse and missing your people or being in some airport, she wasn't into that. So I said,
That's right. I mean, there's so many things that people don't take into consideration. I mean, the practicing, the things you miss in your family, the events you miss, the traveling that you have to do for. I mean, I remember you guys last year before all this happened that you guys have done like 20 cities or 20 different locations or 20 concerts or something like in a month. I mean,
easily.
That's insane sometimes when you think about it.
When we're cranking, and because we're a cappella that takes 6 guys, you know, and you're not having to pack up instruments every night, you forget, or people around you forget that you still are carrying your instrument and have to stay healthy and stay energized, and you have to feel good about yourself and get your rest and eat right and drink your water and exercise and all that kind of stuff. But that stuff will take it out of you. There's a famous comedian, Alonzo, I can't remember his last name.
Bowden?
Yes. He says, the comedy is free, I get paid to travel. I love that quote. And I'm the same way about music. The music is free. What I get paid to do is travel.
Right. But you know what? But the thing is, and I've had to do this too, when you travel, a lot of times people think, oh, you're going to here, you're going there. You're just working. You're just going to a different location. You're not over there just vacationing and scuba diving and working.
Rarely.
On the plane.
Rarely do we even venture out of the hotel lobby. You know, you go straight from the hotel, from the airport's baggage claim, sometimes straight to the green room at the gig. Every once in a while, you get to go to the hotel, drop your bag, then go there. I mean, you're in work mode. People don't realize that. And I have friends, I have family in some of these cities where we've been 20, 30 times. And, you know, a week later after they find out that I've been there, I've been gone to 5 cities till when they find out that I had been there. How come you didn't call me? I'm like, I was there to work. You know, I don't have time to go out to Cheesecake Factory at 3 o'clock in the morning, 5 nights in a row. Or I don't have the energy to do a lot of these social things because this is one night for you. So this is back to back nights for me. Plus, I got to make sure my little guy is doing his homework or make sure my wife is okay, or I'm checking with my kids and all that kind of stuff. I got a whole other world where this fits in one little slice.
Well, you know, and that bringing up family, that's an important point because, you know, as I told you, I was divorced so I became a single mom.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that way at first. And I had to figure out, I was doing film. I would have to drop my son off to school and then go do a film all day for like 12, 14 hours. And thank God he would, you know, have the bus way back home. And then I'd be home at 11 o'clock at night. And I did that for like a month or 2 straight just to get a film done.
Yeah.
Because that's how it works. You can't really say, oh, you know, well, can I take a break, go pick up my son and go do the homework and go to the party or whatever, see his basketball game. I have to do those things that make sure that I don't miss out on opportunities.
Yes.
And then have that compromise with family because, you know, and I guess that's where the village can come in sometimes if you have that opportunity because, you know, it's a hard thing when you are trying to raise children and still trying to do what you know you're destined to do. So, you know, thinking about destiny, did you ever feel like there was anything else that you were supposed to do, or did you feel like this was your calling?
I feel that this is my calling. I feel like, as a matter of fact, as you were talking about contracts, I was thinking about when I went to law school. So I got bored about year 25 for me. And I decided I was going to go to law school, something I've always wanted to do, but it was way in the back of my mind. It was one of those between God and me secret prayers. I didn't let anybody know. And finally, I applied. I got in. I was in law school. I did, about 2 years. This particular program or path was a 4-year program. Normally law school is 3. This was 4 years. And I'm about 2.5 years right now in. Took criminal law, civil procedure. I took contracts, all those kind of things. And was doing okay. But in the middle of this thing, you know, and like entertainment law is contract. So I got about like a B plus A in it so that I can, first blush of a contract, I don't glaze over. I'm with you. Yeah, we'll do this. Okay, this clause eliminates this. All of this. Okay, we'll do this in case this triggers this. All right.
And that's important. That's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. But what I noticed was halfway through it, I was like, Alvin, you're about the top 30% of your class. Pretty respectable, you know, but you're top 30. You're not the top 5, top 1 guy, or top 5 or top 10. You know, you're in there, but you're not killing anything.
Right.
But you are probably the top bass singer on the planet. Do that. You can do other things to reinforce it, to use that skill set and throw against the wall, but stay in your strength. And so that's what I decided to do. In fact, I still am like a year away from being done with law school. But since that time, I came back into my industry with a vengeance. And I'm doing so many things that I wasn't taking advantage of before: voiceovers and film work and TV work. And one of the reasons I decided to wait on law school is because I too was a single dad. I had gone through a divorce. And when I was home after being gone on the road for 2 or 3 weeks, my ex complained that I was home briefing cases. It was like, well, when are you going to be with the kids? And I didn't really have a comeback. I'm like, you know what? That's true. Let me get them done. And then I'll be able to be finished to.
Wait, but that was when you were in law school?
I was in law school. I was a single dad. I was traveling.
Okay.
I was with Take 6. All of that was happening at the same time. I was on flight briefing cases, had my suitcase with all my bags and luggage, and then I have my briefs with my law books and my all of that stuff, nutshells, and it was a lot.
Wow. So I mean, I'm thinking you had stopped doing the law and then you went to go to Take 6, but they were intermingled.
Yeah. No, I had done 25 years with Take 6 by that point, probably 22, 23 years with Take 6. And I decided to go to law school. And so for about 2.5, 3 years, I was doing that, and, you know, was managing okay. But then I had this moment of clarity when I was like, Alvin, you could do okay in this area, or you could continue doing what it is only you, God, put on this earth to you. Nobody can do what you do.
Right.
You know, you are the Lee Bailey of basses, F. Lee Bailey of basses. Do that. And
for those who know who F. Lee Bailey is, but
exactly, the Johnny Cochran, if you will.
Right.
So, you know, I learned a lot, and am grateful for that experience. And who knows, I may go back and finish. But I guess my point is, work in your strength. Find your strength and do it to death. Don't take any compromises, any shortcuts. Do it to death. If you look at what I do for a living, it's a very small, little, itty bitty sliver of the entertainment world. But because I'm the best at that little sliver gets to work all the time. You know, I'm an a cappella bass. I don't usually even sing bass. I go doom, doom, ba-doom, ba-doom, doom, doom, doom. And, you know,
well, you know, to your point though, I actually get a little jealous of the fact that you have a specific gift that you can say, that's exactly my cut. For me, I am a marketing and media professional. Mm-hmm. That's in LA, especially a dime a dozen. I mean, I'm not in LA, which is actually doesn't help, but it doesn't matter because they're a dime a dozen. So I have to actually work harder to find my niche. Yeah, to find my niche. And then because it actually is sometimes it could be a benefit to be African-American and a woman, because you can be put into that, you know, diversity category, right? For me, it's been the opposite, because in fact, I remember making the decision, speaking of college, to go for my master's in communication, but at white school. And not because I care about white versus black, but I said, I want to know what they're doing. I need to hear from them. So I got the opportunity to have discovery teachers and other professionals who had, you know, films and
Oscars and stuff like that, because in fact, one of my teachers he's African American, but he had only Black American to have 2 Oscars. They were for sound, right? His name is Russell Williams. But the fact that he was able to bring that perspective, right? He was able to bring the industry perspective. He did it for like 25, 30 years. And then to be, teaching it to us was invaluable, because you're in the industry. You're telling me the secrets of what you guys have been doing that I can't just walk into the room. Nobody's going to tell me as a professional to say, hey, I'm just starting out. You want to tell me everything you know? No, that's not.
Right. Yeah.
You're not going to do that.
It's important on both sides of the fence. I went to a predominantly white, all the way through high school. And all of my friends from those early years are, the Rainbow Coalition, Hispanic, Samoan, Tongan, white, Filipino, Black. I have friends of all shades. And then when I went off to college, I went to a HBCU, Historically Black College University, Oakwood. And I remember hearing some of the things that my African-American schoolmates were saying about the white students or the white, setup. And I was like, I've been over there. That's not true. That's not.
What were they saying? Like what?
Yeah, it was just, a lot of conspiracy theories, a lot of, they're plotting to do the plotting that I'm like, they're just getting paid. They're not losing sleep over you. And my adulthood, and as I have been in this thing a while, I realized there is a little bit of truth that there is a systemic thing set up where people who have come up in those systems, just from sheer networking and knowing each other, and not only this networking here, but generational networking. And my grandfather worked with this, and my great grandfather was a director, and it passes. There is a systemic thing that keeps you out, not because they don't like you, but they don't know you. So it's important.
And they're comfortable. They're comfortable who they're comfortable with.
Absolutely. This, this sometimes doesn't help you get in the room, but a lot of times this is what they know, because they've been in those systems, like we know. We've been in our systems. So it's important for the two worlds to combine and meet, and their strengths on both sides. But it is interesting seeing the other side talk about the other side when they don't really know about
Right,
it.
but for me, I didn't really, I found it because I was at American University that a lot of the things you thought were dissolved or resolved weren't, even at this same time, because they were comfortable but not conscious. Does that make sense? Like, they weren't like, okay, as a Black person in the room kind of thing, but they really weren't conscious of the fact that I come from a different world. So one of the projects I had to do was in the documentary class, and I decided, because I was in almost all white room, I kept hearing the lack of understanding. And so I decided to do a documentary on gentrification, being in DC. And that's huge in DC, especially now it's really getting bad. Not bad as, gentrification has its good and bad points, right? But nonetheless, it does displace people, and people don't understand the ramifications of it. So I did my documentary on that. And I could see some of the people in the room going, wow, like I never really thought about it like that. I never really thought that so one person sees as progress, bigger buildings, nicer playgrounds and whatever, turns out to be a problem for people who have spent their whole life. Some people have lost homes from, they've paid off their homes. Elderly people have paid off their homes. And then these people come in and just wipe them out. And you don't feel like you can fight and all that kind of stuff. And it's sad, but it's almost, and then at the same token, we do need new playgrounds. We do need nicer neighborhoods. We do need to build up. But so there's that thing. But my point being, a lot of times,
play in them because you still live there.
Say again?
But once they're built, it'll be nice to play in them because you still live there.
If you still live there, because usually what happens is once they come in, the taxes go. Even if you pay off your house, you can't afford the taxes.
Yeah,
so then you still lose your house.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, but that's where I feel like for me, I discovered because the evolution of my company started. I really just got the name from God when I was just driving to Chicago on a trip, and just Oasis came to me because I felt like I wanted to be that voice in the wilderness. You know, that one to saying something different than everybody else is saying. Now, I know, of course, I've done other jobs that didn't matter per se in the world, but that's my goal. I really like making a difference for people. I really like helping people to be their best selves. I really like doing something other than what the mainstream is doing, because sometimes Hollywood can be cookie cutter. And it can just do, oh, you're doing that? Well, let me do that because it's safe. You're making money, let me do that. But then all of these other voices don't get heard. All these other things don't get said. And it's really important that they be heard. Because even like now with everything going on, you see that a voice unheard is a dangerous voice sometimes. It's not a good thing to be unheard. So that was always really important to me.
That's the beauty of YouTube and a lot of these mass opportunities, social media, because there are a lot of people who don't fit on the spectrum, the classic cookie cutter spectrum, that are now getting to be heard. They didn't look a certain way. They didn't sing a certain way. They weren't camera friendly, but they are brilliant people with
or connected connections, right?
Yeah, and they're being heard, and it is a equal opportunity mode we're in, and it's wonderful.
I did an interview with Dave Koz recently, and he talked about how to stay connected to the audience, because you know, because you heard you bring about YouTube, that has been the great equalizer for people in my industry, on my side, I should say, of the industry. Because, you know, before, as I was saying, I had to go knock on Discovery's door and hope he would answer. I had to go knock on this door and see if he would let me in. But the social media has been that great equalizer, because it helps you to be discovered. It helps you to say, okay, I'm just going to put this camera in front of me, I'm going to sing, and I'm going to just be discovered. But as we talked about, once you're discovered, that's when the work begins. It's not when it's, you know, oh, I'm discovered, it's over. Really, that's when the work begins, you know.
I love it.
So have you had that adjustment where you had to go from, because you started before there was social media? And
yeah. Well, the thing I thought you were going to say about Dave was one thing that I've noticed. This is a guy who has reinvented himself and has branded himself and is on every social media platform and is a legend on the radio and on the airwaves and on TV, and he has his own cruises. He's really marketed himself amazingly, and is a great guy. Also is a great guy. But yeah, when we first started, what were you saying? Where did I have to rebrand myself?
Yeah, because Dave talked about that. He talked about how hard it was to make that transition, because he was around before all of this really got heavy too, and heavy. Because it used to be, like you said, you go from city to city, and you had to make a plan that way. But now you have to stay engaged with your client, your customer base or your audience out in the social media world, because they'll forget about you quick.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, before we first started, Ian, I was happy to be the bass. I didn't even have a name. So still 20, 30 years in, people still mispronouncing my name. Or because I had gained a lot of weight at one point, people, oh, were you in the group from the, how long you been in Take Six? I've been in Take Six. What are you trying to say? So I had to find my voice. I had to find my own brand. I had to, at the real Alvin Chea, I had to YouTube my stuff and market. I had to get my own website, MrBasslines.com. All of these things that I had never thought about to separate myself, to be able to work, you know, when the guys are off cycle or they're off the road or they're tired or whatever this thing happens. I have a unique and independent voice, and to be able to be heard, you have to create your own space in the cyber world and drive, and an audience will find its way to you. So yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, on this side of marketing, I've learned it's not just about having that voice, but being willing to like push that voice out. And fortunately for you, your name kind of helps guide that. But a lot of people really have to, they have to do more. They have to do more.
Because there's 1,000 people out here
right.
Who, you know, have a name or have a voice or have a whatever. And you have to push your way to the front of the crowd so that you get an opportunity to be heard. And like you, with your story a while back, we were talking about you had done one thing, but then had to learn how to market yourself and that kind of thing. I was content to be a singer. And then, but through a bunch of different fortuitous events for me, I had to learn to get on the other side of the glass and be able to push the buttons and learn to edit and learn to write and learn how to get myself labeled and branded and that kind of stuff so that I can represent myself. And sure enough, when this coronavirus hit us all, the guys who had their own kingdom, their own the ability to reproduce what you do from home. A friend said, if you are a professional in what you are doing, you should be able to do whatever it is from home. Be able to weigh in and participate in what you do from home. So the guys who had that opportunities are home studios, lights, action camera, are the ones who continue to work seamlessly. The people who had been depending on everybody else are still having to depend on everybody else to wait for an opportunity to work.
So that's an interesting point because I have always worked from home. So I never had to make that adjustment. But honestly, the difference is because I always have to work from home, I have to work twice as hard to make sure you even pay attention. Because half of the time, as we talked about, some of the ways people get in the industry is just by networking. I remember you talked about one time saying that, you know, you were walking around passing out cards.
Right.
And then they were like, we don't do cards.
Hey, brother, if you got time to make cards, you ain't working. I had to go around and pick those cards back up. You have to find the norm and the mores of your industry. Right. And that was, it's all about, I guess the impression is your career is so popping that I only have time to just give you my information right here and right now. I don't have time to set up because if I'm doing all of that, then it means my career isn't popping. So I had to learn that.
I learned that people who want your number are serious. People who take your cards are not. Because I've given my cards out to a million people. Oh yeah. I've given my cards out to so many people. I mean, I really could have a million people in my Rolodex. I have so many people who have my card, but percentage-wise, how many people have picked it up and called after? Oh yeah, I'll call you. Oh yeah. Because you go to a networking meeting. Oh yeah, we'll call. I'm like, now I have a card. Let's give me your phone number because that means you're serious. That means you want me to contact you.
That's good word. That's good right word.
The other problem is for me, confession, I'm not good at admin stuff. So I'm probably gonna take your card, put it in another stack, and then I gotta go put it into something. That's just one more thing for me. So I know that's not even my gift, but I can get a phone.
I gotta cover it. Somebody came over yesterday for a meeting and he passed me a card and it's been in the same back pocket. So that's true. What you're saying is true.
It is, but but I think that's the thing. With technology, you really don't have to. It was a habit before because we didn't have the technology, but now, and that really I think helps to, for me, validate that you are not just doing lip service.
Right.
But I mean, I think the other point that's made in that is that you have to do follow up because sometimes people are sincere, but they just are busy. Yeah. So you can't be in your feelings about working for yourself. That's one thing I had to learn. I used to be in my feelings. Oh, they didn't call me back. They didn't email me, or they didn't return. They said they were going to. I have learned, you know what? Until you say no, it's always a yes. And I'm going to keep trying to get the yes back from you until you tell me it's implicitly no.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, you're not here to try to fill my pocket. I have to do that. I have to wake up every morning and say, what can I do differently than I did before? So that I can get to another level and make it. What can I do?
That's brilliant. Yeah. For me, I take the approach, I thank them proactively for what they will do. And I remember fondly for all the dinners they've already put on my table. So in a way, it kind of primes the pump.
Wait, hold on, what?
I thank them for all the dinners they have already put on my table. So for out here as a session singer, we have contractors, music contractors. Anybody can be a contractor. It's just you're the gatekeeper. You're the rainbow maker to hire other singers for any particular gig. And some people are more prolific at being contractors than others. There's probably, I could give you 5 names of people who are constantly, they have the ears of the composers are connected with the studios, and boom, boom, boom. And then they have their go-to singers that they have. And you get a call, you see an email from any of these 5, 6 people, you immediately make yourself available. What is it that they're needing? Because it's something big. And on the flip side of there's people that are always calling with these jive gigs. But I would say once a year at least, or twice a year, I'll go on Facebook and I'll publicly post, just feeling grateful for all the things that have happened to make this career happen. I want to personally thank blah, 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 and this person as well for such and such. You provided many a meal on my table, and I just want to just say thank you. And, whatever. When I first started, I used to send, little Starbucks cards. But people are human. They want to be appreciated, and they want that to happen again. So they want to be able to feel like they're helping you in your career.
I like that because as a marketing person, that's actually a good tip, because I do it like say in emails, but maybe that's a good idea in terms of publicly, because people will say, I do it after I finish a job, I always say, hey, thank you for allowing us to work with you. And I promote whatever video we finished. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes, like you said, that open thankfulness, and actually it will show you that you are also going to do that for the next person. Sure. So it's kind of almost like a marketing tool in itself, right? Yeah. Hey, well, if you're thanking someone, you're not that hard to get along with. Right. Because, there are other people in the industry. Look, I've had times where I will keep the name to myself, but in midnight, I've had to go shop for underwear. I've got to go buy this particular water because, blah, blah, blah. That's, ego is great, but gratefulness is better. Ego helps you to feel like you're good, blah, blah, the right kind of, confidence, but gratefulness is invaluable. It goes a long way. It's invaluable. It goes a long way. And sincere grateful, not, right, that's true. Unkissing gratefulness or anything like that. I've had that happen to me too, right. Where, it was the weirdest thing. I was working at a gig. It was a TV composer's concert. Everybody who was being prolific in TV work had 2 or 3 of their pieces being featured at this particular concert at UCLA. And they had a choir of people. Now, everybody in the choir is a working session singer. I've seen them 1,000 times. But then out of that choir, they pulled out, I would say, 6 vocalists to be the featured of the vocal featured, So they would have the choir stuff doing musical phrases and passages, but then you were the step out. And then of the 5, 1 or 2 of us got to step out and do solos. And at the lunchtime, we're all in the room. The soloist, the featured, the choir, everybody, we're sitting there, and it just so because the featured people came out later than the choir, we had our own little table, and all of these people that I've worked with 1,000 times were coming by, looking at us like, "Hi, good to see you. So happy for you, and just I hope. Can I take your plate? Is there anything I can get for you? Can I get you some water?" I'm like, I'm just doing a solo today. I'm parked right next to you in the parking lot. You don't have to kiss my butt. I mean, it's nice, but you don't have to. But you know what? The funny thing is that when I met you, I realized that you're a different kind of talent, though, because there are talent who, for lack of a better word, they've been molded and trained to believe that you do have to kiss my butt. And then we're trained as people who are in the industry. I mean, let's talk about writers. Writers are part of the contract that says, I want Perrier water, right. I want this, I want that, and some people have a writer as long as the contract. I mean, because they just want to be pampered and they don't know any other way. Right. I've always admired and thought how you were, and the guys too, are very different about your stardom.
that, you know, you don't walk around with Take 6 on your shoulder and 10 Grammys. I mean, you have 10 Grammys.
Yeah.
So you earned the right to be treated differently, but that's not your personality. And I think, to me, that goes a long way. But I just, you know.
Well, thank you.
Because I'm telling you right now, from this side of the camera, I love working with people like you. I love working with people who I know are humble, they're hardworking, they just want to do their job well. Not the ones who feel like, you know, fan me, feed me grapes, and
you know, and quite honestly, if I was a solo artist, if I was in a secular group, who knows? I may have slipped or I may have come up in that school where that was part of it, and I had, you know, I don't really think that's my personality, but I'm part of a gospel group, and on
I just want to just clear that up. That's not it.
Okay.
I've worked with that group too. That's not it.
Me, I serve at the pleasure of the King, and so and I'm part of the 6-man lineup. So those two levels of humility are added on my crown. But thank you for that. I'm trying to also, like you, I have dealt with life. You've gone through some heartbreaking things. I've been through some heartbreaking things, and I understand that things can change like that. You could be sailing high. You could be in a palace. You can be in a limousine. You could be, and then get served or get whatever it is, and things can change. And so it helps keep me grounded. It helps keep me working hard. I remember one of the biggest realizations I had being in this business was the realizing that the people who put their hands down in that Hollywood concrete and they get their stars, fame, and all of that stuff, and you know, those people the very next day have to try to figure out where the next gig is coming from.
Exactly.
The people who get an Oscar, I just want to thank you. Believed in me. The next day, those their agents are now saying, okay, can you hire them? Well, they're still, they won an Oscar, but you need to hire them, you know, because there have been people who've won Oscars and never been seen again.
Exactly. Yep.
So it never ends. You got to keep pushing. Don't believe your own.
And that gets back to your ego. If you're not doing it for the right reasons, in fact, I talked to Alex Bugnon, and he spoke about that. Yeah. And I would actually like to show that little clip too.
Sure.
But then we're going to pause. But Alex talks about that he realized that he's not some great star. He's just a person with a gift.
Yeah.
And that's important. Yeah. It really is important how you see yourself. And if you see yourself as, I don't want to say a God, but if you see yourself as up here, it's just so easy to fall. And then if you don't think of yourself and you're not feeling worthy of yourself by yourself without all of the applause and the awards, you'll never, this industry will eat you alive. It'll eat you alive.
That is so true. I remember my former wife, her father used to play in the NFL. And I remember having conversations, and her brother-in-law also played in the NFL. And I remember having conversations with them about the psychoanalytical things that happen to you after you retire. And how, for them, it's because they got older. They couldn't do it anymore at the same level where they were. And there was somebody in the same position who could. And so they were replaced. And dealing with the being forced to step aside. And they're relatively young men at the time. And for me, and that's when you get shelved, you know, and dealing with life after that. But for a recording artist or somebody in the arts, you can be as good as you ever were, if not better. But this thing called fame just says that, okay, the world gets that you're great. They just want to hear this guy now. And you stay over there, and I'm going to go over here, and it's like your audience. Where did your audience go? And you're as gifted, you're as committed as before. And if you have been believing that you were God's gift, and all of a sudden that world drops out from underneath you, it can do one heck of a thing to you. So I totally agree with Alex. I think that is the perfect way to look at it. I am gifted, but I'm not God, I'm not a star. I'm just happening. My voice sounds like this, you know? I could be yelling, strike, ball. I could be, you know, peanuts, whatever. My voice would sound like this. I just so happen
the
to
best
have...
bass peanut seller ever.
But I just happen to have been giving this gift and the ability to be able to do it, and the drive, and wonderful parents who could finance my lessons and all of that kind of stuff, and it came together for me. So
that's so true. So, you know, because I have been on red carpets and I've filmed people on the red carpet. You know, I've been the person who's done the media, and I've been the person walking across the red carpet. The only difference is a rope.
Right.
It really is a rope. I've been in VIP sections, and I've been in and sometimes I've left VIP sections and gone to the non-VIP because it's closer to the stage, or it's better lighting or whatever. I have left great places to go to the regular places because maybe the Bible's better. Because sometimes it's fun to be in a crowd and everybody's dancing and having a good time with the artist.
Very true.
And then all the way up in this top of the thing where you feel it all bougie, but you don't feel the vibe of the music. And sometimes there's a glass and you can't hear it properly. Yeah. So,
you know, and on my side of it, I have been the talent. Let's say, take an award show. I've been the talent on dozens of award shows. I'd probably say 30 or 40 by this point in my career, as part of Take Six. Or I'm singing with a choir, or I'm singing with a small group, or I'm doing something different. And then later in life, I've gone to working on those same award shows as crew, as the VOG. And some of the same people, there's one guy that I could call his name, who was a stage manager. Always great, always really friendly. Now, in this world, he's my boss. Okay. And he's, you know, calling the times that we're back on stage and this kind of thing. And if you can't handle that shift, it's going to do a number on you, you know. And I remember one of the first things he said to me when I was a VOG, I did the NAACP Image Awards. He said, "Okay, it's great that you're in here. Now we got to work to keep you in here." I was like, all right, let's go to work.
That's true. That is true. And you have to keep your foot on the ground so you can grow properly. I mean, there's nothing worse than keeping your foundation solid about who you really are.
Yeah, because imagine if I was a jerk as a talent, now I'm coming in trying to be crew. Those same people, because that's an industry.
That's true.
That industry of awards and the same, the cameraman, the limo drivers, the symphony goes to the next thing, and then they do the Oscars, and then they go to the Grammys, and then they go to the Tonys, and then they go to the Emmys, and it's the same people. It's an industry of star making. It's not personal, and so, you know, you happen to be the star that was plugged in this year to be celebrated, but that industry needs to go on, and next year they'll find a different star and a different star. So don't get too high with it, don't get too low with it. It's just an industry.
Right, and I think to your point too, that don't ever think that you're so high up that you can't fall, right? Because, but don't feel like you don't have to earn. When you earn what you've done, like, you know, you guys have 10 Grammys, and I think you've earned your 10 Grammys and more. So you have a right to be treated a certain kind of way. I mean, I don't think you should go in and start, you know, cooking your own dinners and serving them whatever. There's a certain level that you have earned, but I think when you're humble, that makes the difference as to me, your longevity. And definitely, like, on my side of the camera, being wanting to work with you. Of course, you know, if there are high level people that you have to work with and they're still less than pleasant, you work with them. Yeah. But if I have my brothers who I'm going to call, like, person A and person B, I'm calling the one who's easier to work with, the one who's more humble, and the one who's not going to give me a hard time is going to work hard. You know, is going to work hard, get the job done, and go home not thinking I got to take them in a limo, dust up their shoes, and, you know, do all of the other things.
I remember when I did an award show, I've done quite a few now as VOG, but the very first time I was on a headset, and I heard what the production manager and the stage manager and all these people calling the shots and the switches and were saying about the talent. and that nobody ever heard. I was blown away.
Oh no, you heard us talking?
Oh man, the talent would be on stage trying to be cute or charming or whatever it was. And the producer or director were like, hurry up, jackass. I'm like, and then right after that, we'll be right back with blah, 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 blah. They had no idea. I'm like, man.
And now for tips of the day.
Here's my tip for the day for making it. Somebody told me no one will ever give you permission to be great. No one's ever going to knock on the door and affirm you and say, hey, you deserve more money. Don't stand for that. Go for it. You really deserve that role. You have to know it within yourself. No one is ever going to do that for you. You got to know who you are and go for it. Do your best and do it to the max.
I agree 100%. And my tip of the day is never give up. And I have to tell you, after 20 years of making it and trying my best on my own, there were days when I just wanted to just quit because I wasn't making enough money. I was tired. I wasn't being recognized the way I knew I could have been. I knew I had more to offer the world than what the world was allowing. But I said, you know what? As we talked about, when it's your destiny, when you know it's what you want, when you know it's what you believe in your spirit, you have to keep going. And I know it sounds crazy, but I keep on, my motivation is I have to go back to God one day. I don't want him telling me that I didn't do what he sent me to do.
Right.
So that's kind of a big thing for me. So I really believe, don't ever give up. If you're destined to do it, if you believe it in your spirit and you can't get rid of it, keep going.
Good. Yeah.
And that is our show about making it. Love you, man.
Love you too.